Welcome to the show No Instructions, where we meet with founders and interview them about starting and growing their businesses. I'm your host, Chad Ingram, 3-time founder and CEO at Distro. Distro is a platform to help businesses build teams by breaking down borders around the world. Let's go ahead and get started with today's guest and see how they built their business. All right, welcome to the show, No Instructions. Today, we have Landon Taylor from Snoball with us, also known for building a couple of other really cool companies like Skyrocket Media, Best Companies. So before we get into your story, and thanks for taking the time to be on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And tell us, Twitter style, real short, what is Snoball?
Yeah, and it's Snoball without the W,
yeah.
right? Spelled with, a little different. So the premise of Snoball is, especially in the home service realm, people in home services are really good at what they do, providing that service they provide. Not so much at the word of mouth marketing motion once they have a customer.
Got it.
And so what Snoball does is it's a single platform done for you that systematizes that flywheel of word of mouth marketing. That includes referrals, reviews, and reputation.
Cool.
So that in a nutshell is what Snoball is.
Awesome. Very cool. And you're just a couple years in on that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Well, we'll loop around to that later, cool. In your story. But as we get started, where does your story start? Like if somebody wants to get to know you pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, where'd you grow up?
Yeah. Every time I get asked that, have you ever seen the show Goonies?
Yeah, for sure.
You know that scene in the basement where they've got, Chunk.
Yeah.
They've got him pinned up against the wall. They're like, tell me everything. And he's like, well, in the second grade. And anyway, I won't go back to the second grade, but I grew up in California, Richmond, just outside the Bay Area. Fun fact, we were there during the earthquake of '89.
Oh, yeah, it was wild.
When the bridge collapsed and you had the fires and all that stuff. And so my pops, like he drove across the bridge like 5 minutes before it collapsed.
Wow.
So that's kind of our California, story. And I was there till 91 and moved to Alpine, went to high school at Lone Peak High School. My wife went to Lone Peak High School. We didn't know each other in high school. We met after I went on a 2-year mission.
She's from Utah?
She's from Utah, from Alpine as well.
And your dad, what did your dad do for work?
Yeah, he was a general contractor.
And why did he move to Utah?
Yeah, so we actually went from California to Tempe, Arizona, then to Utah, and it was because of work in part.
Yeah.
But also too, my mom was in part the breadwinner at the time. My dad was trying to get his practice on good footing. And
was he working for somebody else?
He was in California.
Yeah.
And then in Utah he started his own thing.
Why?
Alpine Construction. I think he wanted to. He like my grandpa, like my dad, I think it's part of my DNA, didn't love working for somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. I think he wanted to control things. And
why do you think it was more of a pride thing of working for somebody else? Like, I don't want to be told what to do. Or is it more of like an outlet for him?
I think probably more so the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably more so like, 'cause he's not a pride guy. It's more like, I just want to control my own destiny.
Yeah.
My mom she was a hustler. She was selling water rights in Alpine. Wow. I didn't even know that was a thing. Actually, I don't even know what that is still to this day, right? So when Alpine was like Thanksgiving Point didn't exist. You had, it was like farmland.
Yeah, Alpine as a community is kind of like, for those not in Utah, it's like, we have this tech corridor along the I-15, in Utah, and then Alpine's kind of this like little community tucked into the mountain.
That's right.
And it's kind of
great description.
Kind of a little, it's like, I don't know, 10, 15 minute drive from the freeway really.
And it used to be just a small, almost like a dirt road into the city. Yeah. Now it's, of course, there's a good connection there. And so anyway, she was a hustler. So she kind of pulled them to Alpine too, I think. So anyway, grew up in Alpine, went to the local high school. And my wife, she's the oldest of 7. I'm the middle of 5. And I went on a 2-year mission for the LDS Church to Mozambique, Africa.
Africa.
Portuguese.
They speak Portuguese there?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
One of 2 countries in Africa that was colonized by the Portuguese.
I did not know that. That's really wild. I've got a couple of Brazilian employees. And,
okay, nice.
And It's kind of wild. I speak Spanish. I'm fluent in Spanish, and I can kind of understand what they're saying, but it's wild. I've tried.
Yeah.
I try to pronounce the words, and it's just not quite there.
Well, in Brazilian Portuguese is like, it's got its own little flair, right?
Yeah,
like how they pronunciate things. They would probably make fun of the Portuguese in Portugal.
But you would understand each other, right?
I definitely understand.
You could do it.
Unless they get really, they really have a flair to it, they'll run with it. But
So your mom, she was hustling and doing this thing. Kind of describe that a little bit. So like she was working while your dad's business wasn't really working?
No, he was working.
Yeah.
But, I don't think it was like, it was bringing home little slices of bacon, not the big bacon.
Yeah.
And my mom she wanted to contribute and the kids were old enough where she could, and she wanted to apply her energy somewhere. And so I don't know how she got into it. I don't know, but she ran with it. And then they were early investors into the land that's now Thanksgiving Point, which is right in the heart of Silicon Slopes for those who aren't in Utah.
Right, where all the tech companies are.
So it used to just be fields.
Yep.
Right, like nothing there. And so they were one of a number of people.
And not that long ago. Like we're talking about like the first buildings that were built for this tech corridor or whatever you want to call it were like 10, 12, maybe 12, 13 years ago, right? But like before that, there was, even at that time, there were like 2 buildings. And before that, it was literal farmland.
That's right. Weeds.
It's crazy how
There's
much
still, if for those in Utah, if you drive along that frontage road on the west side
of the freeway,
and you kind of pass the buildings, you're headed north.
Yep.
On the left side, before you kind of go up the hill, there's like this old house that's still standing there.
Yes.
I don't think anybody lives there.
I know exactly the one you're talking about.
So my parents owned that house.
Wow.
And we're renting that out because that was a portion of land they owned. And it's still there. I don't know why it's still there.
It's like a brick house that's still there. Yeah, I know exactly.
It like has holes in it, and it's like debilitated. So
somebody needs to rehab that and make the little startup office.
Agreed. Cool. Yeah, agreed. It's really good land. But
yeah, definitely.
So she was hustling. My dad was working. We had a great childhood. Really sporty family. We love sports. Played at the local high school. And
what'd you play?
So I played Lone Peak. I played football, baseball, and basketball.
What'd you like the most?
Football was probably what I did the best in.
Okay.
And I guess I would say that's probably the one I liked the most.
Okay.
Probably because I did the best in it. Basketball came off the bench.
Yeah.
Baseball came off the bench.
Yeah.
Eventually gave up baseball just because trying to do all of it was tough. But
yeah, I grew up in LA, so it was like only baseball, right? So all we did was baseballs. We didn't have any teams.
Are you a Dodgers guy? Or
yes, but I question it sometimes when I go to like. Well, last time I went to the stadium, I was like, man, this has gone real ghetto.
Yeah,
and I have a brother who's like hardcore Dodgers fan. Like every game, he goes to like spring training in Arizona, and like he's hardcore.
It needs an upgrade. It feels like, right?
Yeah, for sure it does. But like, I think Dodgers were my team growing up. Then later on, I had an office in Orange County, and we were like 10 minutes away from the Angels Stadium.
Okay.
And so and we'd have season tickets. So we'd go to the Angels game, have lunch, and come back to work,
Oh, that's
so
sweet, yeah.
I kind of ended up going to some Angels games, but I would say I'm more of a Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it does. The last time we were there, getting into the stadium was a headache.
Yeah, for sure.
The stadium just felt like it's older. It needs an upgrade.
It's in downtown LA.
They have so much money going into that program.
Definitely they do. It's kind of wild. So you played sports.
Yep.
At what point did your dad's business start to do better?
Yeah, he, Alpine grew a lot from when we moved in to when I was a teenager. So I think he kind of rode that wave a little bit. He's a really trustworthy guy and really good tradesman. Like could do really anything, remodels, roof, whatever it was needed. So I think those two things, it started to grow when we moved in. Mm-hmm. And he set up his first business, Alpine Construction, and he kind of makes.
I feel like I recognize that name. It's a decent sized company now today, isn't it?
So it doesn't exist today. So it was
gone.
Yeah,
Did he sell it?
I don't think he sold it. I think he just stopped doing it.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
because I feel like I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I don't live far. I live in Lehigh, right? So I'm nearby. So you saw that it's working out for your dad. Did you have any idea on what you wanted to do when you were like, in high school? Like you're playing sports and stuff? Like what was next for you?
Probably nothing reasonable. Like I'm trying to think back to high school. It was, I knew I was going to go on a mission, right? Yeah. So that was kind of the next thing on the horizon. I didn't have
when you're 19.
Would you do when you're 19?
Yeah.
Go for 2 years. On my mission, I thought I was going to come back and sell Noni juice.
Interesting.
Multi-level.
Who pitched you multi-level marketing?
Some adult on the mission was like, they couldn't go without their Noni. And they were so big on it. So for I got back for like months. I literally went headfirst into selling Noni products.
That's funny.
I don't know if Noni's still around, but it's Tahitian Noni. For those who don't know, it's like a health
big company. Yeah.
Big company. I think the Qualtrics building used to be the Noni building.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I think they remodeled it, but
yeah, and then they moved somewhere like in Springville or something.
That's
later.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so it was the first building.
But big company. Okay,
yeah.
so
I did that for a few months.
So you literally did that.
You
came home and did that thing.
It wasn't just an idea. It became
That's
reality.
a little bit wild.
And I quickly realized I'm not doing this.
Okay.
And so I went to school at BYU, general business. And then I think at that point, quickly after getting home from a mission or even on the mission, I'm like, I want to do my own thing. I want to be an entrepreneur.
Well, okay. So was that clear to you before you registered for school and were taking business classes, or were you just kind of like, oh, I'll try this out?
Yeah.
My dad does business.
I think it was at that point pretty seated in my ideas of what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Now, what field, what kind of company, not so much. So I knew I needed to get a job, pay the bills. Quickly met my wife right after getting home from Mozambique. We were married within a year.
Wow.
She is just out of high school. I was 21. She was 19. We had our first kid when she was 20.
Wow.
So I just turned 40. Our oldest is a senior in high school at the high school I went to.
Right.
So anyway, it moved pretty fast. And at the time, I was getting close to ending school, but it's just general stuff, a little bit of everything. And I'd worked in sales for a couple of years, sales for athletic performance training.
Sure.
Did that for a couple of years. And then what really kind of got me into the field that I'm in now, or at least the path that I started on, was in 2008. Brady Whittingham, brother of Kyle Whittingham, he had somebody that worked for him who I coached football with.
Okay.
And they were starting an affiliate marketing company. And so they said, hey, we're putting together a team.
How old were you at the time?
So at the time it was 2008. So I would have been
when
24.
In 2008?
Oh, man.
2008 is an important year.
That is important. A lot happened.
Was it later 2008 or earlier?
I think it was probably earlier.
Yeah,
I think it was probably earlier.
Before the crash.
And I was oblivious because I was 24.
Right. You had nothing to lose or gain.
We didn't have a house.
Yeah.
We were still renting. And so
Freshly married,
yeah. So I was a little bit oblivious to the whole crash thing and whatnot. But so that was the start in digital marketing. I worked for Brady for a couple of years. Then in 2010 started my own thing. And then, on from there.
So you skipped over quite a lot.
Yeah, jumped a few years there.
So you've got a job, newlywed, you got to produce something. Are you still going to school and working?
Yeah, I did skip over one kid. When we first got married, we went to California and sold door-to-door home security.
Yeah,
sales.
Cool.
For summer, and then came back.
How did you do?
It was one of those things where when we first got there, the office that we were first in almost imploded, right? There was just people left and right, couldn't sell anything.
Yeah.
And so we
Which happens a lot.
Which happens a lot, yeah. We were close to coming home. Instead, we went up to Long Beach, joined their team, and ended up having a great summer. Really good money for a newlywed couple. Yeah. Good jump start. And so anyway, when we got back home, we settled in. We just did it for one summer. Well,
what's crazy is if you go back and listen, I think we've recorded, 40 something episodes and in this podcast, and you could go back to a lot of people that I've interviewed, and many of them did it.
And door to door.
Yeah, did door to door sales. Right. And it's kind of wild, what you learn, including myself. I'm
curious though, do you think it's more people who do it they're doing it because they have that DNA of I want to eat what I kill. I want to just grind, or do they become entrepreneurs because they did it?
I don't think they become entrepreneurs because they did it. I think they're willing to do crazy things because they're crazy. Yeah. I actually posted about that on LinkedIn today. I said kind of a bad word in my LinkedIn post. I said startups are not for pussies. Yeah. Basically, and that probably
pussycats.
Yeah, literally pussycats. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like it's one of those things that it takes an insane person to sign up for that, because it's not, but once you've felt it, tried it, the creativity, the freedom, which is a very altered freedom. You know, it's not like true freedom. It's just, it's a little different. But freedom to create is what I call it. And it takes a kind of a literal insane person to do that, as opposed to just taking a paycheck and doing what the boss said and then getting paid more money and then kind of taking it easy,
really
right?
Good way to look at it. Yeah.
But for somebody that has, you know, a brain like us, that's almost a death sentence.
That's right.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
Regardless of the security, regardless of the benefits.
We don't care, right? Like I would work for, you know, a lot less money if I'm doing it for myself.
That's a good point.
So it takes a crazy person to do that, I think. So, okay. So you come back from that summer and you're working in general, but then you go to work at this marketing company. Like, how do you go from working for somebody else, working for somebody else and learning this like marketing thing? Because at the time, for, you know, just to remind everyone a little bit of context, like 2008, there was a lot of stuff that was just brewing in the digital space, particularly with search engines. So search engines, you know, took, you know, from the early 2000s up to that point, like were just becoming usable. You know what I mean? Like, so there was a lot of like SEO was like boom town at the time. You know, here in Utah, there was a lot of big SEO companies.
It was like white space. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it, you know, the results were much more easily manipulated, you know, than they are now today. So like how do you go from that? Like, are you working there and then you're thinking, I think I could do this myself?
Yeah, good question.
Or did somebody say, hey, I got an idea? And then you're like, all right, I'll join you.
Right.
How did that happen?
Yeah. So 2008 was the entry point was affiliate marketing, right? So we were, what I was focused on was how to acquire publishers, affiliates into a network. And then we had advertisers or people who sold products or services who were looking to get leads or customers, and we'd broker that relationship. And so for 2 years, we were just grinding. We'd go to Affiliate Summit, LeadsCon, these different.
So you were really brokering leads at this point. You weren't really. I mean, I guess you could say you're generating, but you really weren't.
We weren't.
You didn't own the property, right?
That's correct. That's
interesting.
Correct. Yep. So it's pure affiliate.
So you, at the time, it was kind of like a business model where you own paper, right? You basically said, hey, we're going to buy and resell it.
That's it.
Yeah. Interesting.
20% margins, right on the high end. But yeah, that was it. We were a broker.
Yeah, that's cool. Yep. So you learned that from this other person. And did you have a business partner to do that? Were you kind of doing it yourself? Like, so what did the first days look like?
Yeah, 2 years under Brady. And a fun story about Brady that I always appreciate this story on how he approached things. I was like a week into the job. I had no clue about affiliate marketing, like no clue. And I had found a mentor over, you know, on the East Coast who I could message questions, right? And it was somebody that Brady knew. And I did something. I made a huge mistake where I disclosed to our publisher who our advertiser was, right? Just like oblivious. And Brady storms up, but he had like 4 books. And they were all like 101 in affiliate marketing or like whatnot, you know, just things about affiliate marketing. He's like, slammed it on my desk. He's like, go read these. In a very nice way, but very pointed. And so anyway, I kind of just learned on the job, affiliate marketing, did it for 2 years. And what kind of was the kick for me to start my own thing in 2010 was, I was putting in hours that were just crazy. I would stay up till 3 a.m. I'd be in the office at 6 a.m.
Doing what?
Just grinding, trying to find publishers, trying to work deals, trying to, you know, just grow the network. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, and I think kind of how my dad approached it is if I'm going to put in all this energy, I want to make sure that I can maximize the output for that input. Yeah. And so at that point, me and the football coach that I coach with, knew Brady, we broke off, started our own thing. Brady was a passive investor, a passive partner for a little bit. So that ran from 2010 to 2013. And then in 2013, I bought out my partner friend who was the coach, and I merged with an SEM marketing group, two guys. More traditional digital marketing. That's right. So you brought affiliate with SEM. Right. And we combined the two, and that's what Skyrocket Media became. Got it. Yeah. So in these early years, were you, before this kind of merger, were you guys making money? Yeah, we were profitable. Yeah, okay. Not wildly profitable. I'd say on the high end, and actually for the first year, we just kind of spun our wheels, right? We were trying to find something. We sold at one point, we were selling HCG, the weight loss product. I don't know if that's still a thing. But we were selling that. That made a little bit of money. And then we found this one group who was buying leads for like this publication, like a who's who publication.
Yeah.
And that became a really big, what they call offer.
Yeah.
Right. Where we could drive a ton of traffic, generate leads, and get paid at, like a 20% margin.
But when did it start that you went from kind of like buying and selling essentially just on paper versus let's take this online? Like
own our own property type thing.
We need to own our own digital assets and property.
Yeah, so we went from just broker, and then when Skyrocket Media was born, we did that same brokering for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And then when we first started Skyrocket Media, we had kind of a 3-stage goal of let's go from agency to owning our own real estate, our own web property.
Yep.
In the same like lead generation, customer acquisition realm. And then third, eventually we wanted to get into software. We wanted to own our own product, right, our platform. So Skyrocket Media, 2 years, 2013, 2015, did the broker game. And then in 2015-ish, 2014, 2015-ish, we started so we had a number of clients who were having like a lot of frustrations with the review sites. It was pay to play. They felt like their brand was being held ransom a little bit.
Yeah.
Reviews were faked, so they just felt like it was kind of a gamed ecosystem. So we're like, let's go. And it was, right?
Yeah.
And it still is to a certain degree.
Yeah, some of it, yeah.
There's some
people
out there
still today think the Better Business Bureau is like...
It's like a racket.
Is like, well, the people that know it is a racket, but there are people that literally believe it's a government website.
That's right. That's right. Consumers.
And then they go believe what's on there.
Right.
And it's like completely, it literally, you pay to remove.
Pure pay to play.
Yeah. You pay to remove bad reviews. It's terrible. It's literally like, it is a racket. It's literally a racket. You're like paying the mafia.
Yeah, totally is.
It's wild.
Which is a pretty myopic view. Like that's not going to last, right?
No.
And it's already starting to kind of, I think, erode. Sorry.
Yeah. Hopefully it's getting better.
Yeah. So we started like a review site in home security and credit repair. It's like besthomeSecurityCompanies.com was our first like domain.
Right.
For a review site in that industry.
Yeah. We
created like 5 of those.
Yeah.
And quickly realized, gosh, we're onto something here. And when I say we're onto something, we would drive traffic that we generated, whether it's affiliate or SEM, into this review site. And the consumer was coming from researching home security,
right,
wanting to find the best, and they'd pick the brand. So the quality of leads was really good.
Yes.
And so we're like, we're onto something. Let's create a single platform where we can scale this quicker. And that's where bestcompany.com
as a brand
and as like a single platform was born in 2016. And so, we parlayed the capital. We've always been self-funded.
What kind of, I want to talk about that for sure. But what kind of, just curiosity, like what kind of traffic were you guys getting? Like how big? I know it was a lot. Yeah. You produced a lot of traffic.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was north of 1 million uniques per month.
Wow.
And that's a combination of PPC and then organic, especially with Best Company.
I bet you more than half of any adult at some point in the last decade in the U.S. has been on that website.
That would be amazing.
But I would imagine,
could be.
That's a lot of visitors.
Yeah.
If anybody was researching, how to get a home security system or like there was many categories, right, on this website, like that's many. Yeah.
Yeah. And if they didn't visit, at least maybe an impression.
Yeah. Right? For sure.
Millions upon millions of impressions.
Yeah.
And so I had really good initial partners who knew the PPC world. I was more on the operations business side. I brought the affiliate side to it, and kind of all the cogs that go into customer acquisition. But they actually were the ones, driving the traffic.
So how did you, getting into a little bit more of the technical nature of this, because, this was some of my more background with my first 2 startups. Both were in marketing tech. Right. And but how did you see things changing in the last decade, both for SEM, SEO, whatever we want to call it, and paid, right? Because SEO has changed quite a bit. Yeah. Paid has also changed a lot, like how was that for you guys as you were, figuring out growing this thing?
Yeah.
That was your livelihood, is traffic to this website, right?
That's right. And I think you'll kind of notice as we discuss the evolution of the Snowballs, there's this deep-rooted acute pain that we have felt on this dependence on Google. We've
definitely
we've lived and harvested off of Google, but we've also like felt the acute pain that Google they can bring your business to its knees overnight.
Literally,
right?
Yeah.
So in terms of how things have changed, PPC became very much data driven. Like we invested millions into our data model. Yeah. So from click to LTV, right, mm-hmm. to when the customer signs up and how they perform beyond that. We wanted to have a unified data model because the speed to optimization on clicks and feeding that data back to Google was like key. But Google, what they did is they created this black box where it's like you had to feed the data to them and then use it's called target ROAS, their automated bidding.
Yeah.
So basically the paid search managers who used to make bid changes were kind of becoming not obsolete, but like that role was obsolete. And you just say, hey, Google, go bid for us. Like, here's our credit card.
Yeah, an unlimited budget. Yeah,
an unlimited budget.
Super scary.
Yeah. So, the controls you'd have is like set the budget, set some bid caps.
But still, if you set the budget too low, you're not going to get traffic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it becomes more and more extreme, mm-hmm. right? And that's a little bit
much
scary.
Higher stakes.
Yeah.
And so, so I think where it used to be like any company could probably plug in mm-hmm. and get value, is it became those with the more capital and the data would kind of win out. And it's become more and more that way and very competitive. CPCs have gone up.
Same for Facebook. Same
Facebook.
Yeah.
So first party data too was really critical because you got all the cookieless, the cookie apocalypse, right? You got the Facebook privacy stuff. And so owning the first party data became pretty critical as well.
Yeah. So do you think have like conversion rates been impacted? So if there's less bidders, would that maybe improve conversion rates, for PPC over time?
Could in certain industries, but then you got the combination of, you asked about like SEO and the SERP.
Yeah.
Google's move or the outcome of their moves was these 0-click searches. Right? They try to get so much information into the SERP.
Yeah.
So that nobody had to click into sites. Right, they could get an answer or a snippet right there.
Yep, for sure.
And so,
which just changed again, right? Now it's AI driven, right? So it's wild.
So it's
AI summary.
It's like, you layer on the SEO algorithm changes, the SERP experience changes, this data. It's just we were always trying to guess how
so as a business owner,
to fit.
Is this the thing that kept you up at night when you get stressed, right?
Like, oh my gosh, we would. And you're playing an arbitrage game in customer acquisition. If you don't own the offer or the product, you're playing an arbitrage game, right? So we would still be, our business model was drive traffic to Best Company, pay for that traffic, sell the leads to the brands listed on Best Company. Mm-hmm. And so we were playing arbitrage. Yeah. Google is not going to wait until we get paid.
So that was my next question. Let's go back to the financing piece that you mentioned a little bit earlier. So with financing, like early on, it seems like you self-funded it, mm-hmm. no investors. Mm-hmm. You ate what you kill. Yep. So how did you manage the growth as you scaled? Because you did scale. Yep. Like how did you manage the growth over the years 3, 4, 5, 6? Like what'd you do?
Yeah. So we had a few small SBA loans, but not much. So we had a little bit of debt financing. Skyrocket Media, the nice thing about affiliate is you can align your payables with your receivables. So you get paid before you pay out.
Yeah.
Right. So you're collecting margin. You're never left holding the bag.
Yeah.
There's sometimes where the terms don't, they're kind of misaligned. So we had a good profitable business with Skyrocket Media. And instead of like going hog wild on our lifestyle and whatnot, we just parlayed the profits into building Best Company.
Yeah.
Best Company was not even like profitable for the first few years. And so we just, Skyrocket funded Best Company. And Best Company got to a place where it became profitable, could stand on its own. But that was a little bit more higher stakes, arbitrage included. And then we eventually sold Skyrocket Media in 2020. But it was basically this parlaying of capital from the previous business to fund the next business.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of the way we've self-funded over the years.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah, and then speckling some debt here and there. Finance.
Right. Yeah, because at times, like, profitability and cash flow are two different things, right?
Oh my gosh, totally.
Yeah. It's kind of wild.
Profitability is kind of a vanity, right?
Yeah,
Cash flow is really where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, totally. So you're growing this business. I mean, how would you describe it? Maybe we can get to the sale part later of what that was like after. But as you're building this business, how would you describe the experience? Was it like hard? Was it stressful? Was it happy? Was it like? I mean, you kind of get to look back now at this section of your life, and see what you remember.
Yeah, great question, man. So great team, like great people, which is always important in terms of how you like or not like what you're doing. So great people. We were making good money, right, which makes it easier to go to bed at night and get you motivated to get in early on a Monday morning. Type thing. And so that was fun. And then the best company thing brought this like new challenge, like how do we grow our own platform and product? So it was a really great mix. Like I had no problems whatsoever working 15-hour days and absolutely loving every minute of it.
Yeah.
We had unrealistic, I think, not expectations, but in terms of how much we were valued as a company, unrealistic.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we thought Skyrocket Media, we were imputing like this valuation on a ad tech 25% margin business that was like this.
We're going to go get
public
50X.
market. Yeah. It was just crazy. I look back now, I'm like, I wish I could slap myself. And so I think we had, in part that maybe kind of motivated us even more because we had this unrealistic expectation. But, one mistake that I made as I look back that kind of not derailed, but it kind of adjusted this satisfaction was I had one of the partners in Skyrocket Media. There was 3 of us.
Yeah.
And we bought out that partner in 2016.
Okay.
Me and the other partner. And going back, I wouldn't have done that. One, because it put a load on the business.
You mean you stayed with the 2 new people, but you bought out a 4th one.
So we had 3. So the 2 of us bought out the 1.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And so we used the profits that were funding Best Company to also now fund this buyout. Yeah. And we gave it a buyout multiple that was somewhat in this realm of unrealistic.
Oh no.
So we paid a premium, right? And he was a great partner.
Hey, unless an institution comes knocking on the door, people are not getting a good deal.
Yeah, exactly. I think we gave a really good deal. He ended up having a great, he went on to do some great things.
Cool.
But it put a burden on the business.
Yeah.
He was a great partner.
How many years do you feel like that stressed you and the business?
Oh man. At least, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
After that, it kind of readjusted the clock. How
would you have done that differently, looking back, maybe?
I think we just would have worked through some of our differences, right? It was a role thing. It was involvement.
You mean stay versus not stay?
Yeah, and figure it out, right? And not, looking back, I think it was more like me and the other partner felt, okay, we're in this, right? Every single day, and
right.
And so that was kind of the driver there.
Yeah.
We would have just worked things out. This guy was a great partner, had a lot of talents, really talented guy. So anyway, that was a mistake. That kind of changed the game. We then had a few executives leave, and we kept some really great people who are really still with us to this day.
Awesome.
So we were able to kind of keep going, but that was a part of the journey that was not as fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that happens.
It does happen.
It's like there's no way it's not going to happen.
And what I've come to, Chad, there is like life is all about making choices. You're not going to bat 1,000.
No.
You're going to make choices that you're going to learn from, and hopefully you learn from those. So the next time you're faced with a similar choice, whatever, you can make a better choice.
Yeah.
But for years I beat myself up. I wish I could rewind the clock. But I came to this realization, like, this is what life's all about.
Yeah.
You make choices and you learn, right? And you just keep going. And so now it's very much so like looking forward versus looking back, but you learn from it.
Yeah, definitely. There's somebody really wise that used to tell me it just is, right?
That's great. Yeah.
What it just is. It's like it's something that happened and you learn from it. There's no reason to kind of dwell on the past, right?
Right.
So you guys sell. Did you pursue selling or did someone come to you?
We had one company come to us, and then we're like, you know what? Let's maybe create a small auction. So we reached out to the eventual buyer and said, hey, we have somebody interested here. You want to be in the mix? And so we're talking about Skyrocket Media here. That was in 2020, and it was like a 3-company bid. So yeah.
How'd you?
We didn't have a banker or anything. We just self-negotiated.
Yeah. Sometimes that's good. So when I sold my business, we didn't have a banker. It was it was weird. It was kind of a strategic, but kind of not. It was really a small like boutique private equity team that was like buying up the same category
and wanting to operate.
And then they put them together and then sold them to a very large strategic together later.
Got it.
So it was kind of wild.
Because of roll-up strategy.
Yeah, exactly. So they had approached us. And in some ways, hiring a banker would have really helped me as kind of a young, because I was only 31, I think, when that happened.
Did you have an advisor or anything, or not?
I mean, I had board members that I thought were advising, but then when you go to the week before close, it gets real weird, right? Because everyone wants what they want, right? And so not really. Like I had some friends that gave me some really good advice, but selling a company is a whole, it's wild.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have another friend who always says when you make a mistake in business, all you did was pay expensive tuition,
exactly.
And, I will call that expensive tuition, kind of that, just that whole process of what that's like to sell a company. And, for you, like, did you want to sell? And here's the real answer.
Yeah.
Like, did you want to sell? And why?
Yeah. Good question. We had already started. Best Company is who we were. Yeah. Skyrocket Media was, at the time, we intentionally, in the course of like a year or two, isolated a team dedicated to Skyrocket Media.
Yeah.
So that we had a Skyrocket Media team, and then everybody else was Best Company.
Yeah.
And so it was built to either run separately into the future or sell.
Mm.
And so, we looked at it. It was more like the calculus was, okay, it's funding Best Company. We need those funds. If that's in the form of a sell, great. If it's in the form of keep running, great. And we felt the timing was right. We had the operator of Skyrocket Media and the team were aligned they had motivation to sell as well. And so
was it just that, like,
it was more opportunistic.
Two companies that were kind of becoming their own,
for sure,
and that's 1,000%. Kind of what So it just made a lot of sense to do it.
It did, yeah. Like even I had visions of like Skyrocket Media, and Best Company intertwining, like Skyrocket Media driving traffic to Best Company and becoming an affiliate arm or whatever it was.
They're really becoming two separate businesses.
They were two separate businesses, different industries, different types of customer lead generation. So it just made sense.
It's hard to get alignment like that as a leader, for sure.
For sure.
And balance budgets, right? Like, who do we feed first, and where's our priority? And that does make it tough. So the acquisition happens, but you still have the other company, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not technically fully retired at this point. You're there's still work to do.
Well, and the Skyrocket Media sell really went to clear out debts, buyout debt, partner buyout debt,
totally.
And then a little bit of working capital for sure for Best Company. Best Company at the time was profitable, could stand on its own, but it got a little bit of a tailwind from the Skyrocket Media sell. But no, we didn't take a ton of chips off the table.
Right.
By any means. We also, one thing that kind of helped just with capital and just like an investment play was we bought our office building that we moved into for Skyrocket Media and owned that for a number of years.
Where's the office at?
It was at we've since moved, but it was in the business park off of State in Pleasant Grove.
Oh, okay.
There's a Walmart there.
Yeah,
kitty corner to that. There's a business park.
Yeah.
We sold that in let's see what year in early 2023.
Yeah, cool.
The office building. So
very cool. So did that mean that Best Company as its own would continue to operate?
That's correct.
And does it operate today?
Yeah. So Best Company, 2016 to 20 to actually January of this year, the business model was drive traffic, sell the leads. Right.
Yeah.
We just recently sold the media rights to Best Company to to Modernize, who's a company of Quinn Street, publicly traded company. And we still own the bestcompany.com domain platform, but they own all the media rights. The monetization of traffic.
Yeah.
Right, is under their realm.
It's almost like a licensing deal.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Basically is a license. Yeah.
So, okay. So let's fast forward then to, with the time we've got, to Snowball though.
Yes.
So how do we get to Snowball and why?
Yeah, I'm glad this is the funnest part, right?
Yeah.
So when we started Best Company, it was very much the revenue model was leads. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's a review site, we got really good with generating reviews and helping companies leverage those reviews to drive their reputation.
Definitely.
Right? And so we had this side of the platform that was Best Company for business. So think of like Glassdoor has the employer and employee side.
Right.
So we had this side for the brands to manage their reviews and their reputation. That ran for about 7 years. We slowly tacked on features. It was all free features, right? Got to a point where it's like you guys
were generating reviews.
We were generating, So all the reviews on Best Company owns those reviews.
Well, yes, but for this business category, were you guys able to generate almost like Glassdoor type reviews?
Yeah, exactly. It was really any industry. We would reach out to the customer of those brands and generate reviews.
Yeah,
got that brand to Best Company. Yeah. And so the Best Company for business in about a year ago, we said, okay, we know customer acquisition, we know reviews and reputation. If you zoom out and look at home service companies, they, like I said, kind of at the start of this, really good at what they do.
Yeah.
But not good with those 3 R's of word of mouth marketing.
Right.
Referrals, reviews, and reputation.
Right.
So like, let's take everything we know in these things and let's build out this platform. So reviews, reputation, we already knew. Referrals was kind of the final piece we need to build into the product. At that point, we then said, let's spin out the tech side, the software side of the Best Company platform.
Yeah.
Rebrand that to Snowball.
Got it.
Standalone company. And it still powers the reviews and the profiles for brands on Best Company.
Oh, cool.
But it also does the same thing for other platforms.
So you started that about 2 years ago?
Yeah, the referrals,
as
the product it is today was more like a year ago.
Yeah.
And then Snowball, the company, just started in January.
So how's it going? As a new startup, after having a lot of experience in building this other stuff, how's that going? I mean, what you're describing is a traditional vertical SaaS company, right? So how's that going?
Yeah, it's I mentioned the 3 phases we had when we started Skyrocket Media.
Yeah.
Lead gen, platform for lead gen, and then software. We're on that final third phase.
Yeah.
It's a shift, right? It's not like the economics are different.
Very different.
The key vitals and metrics that you manage to are different. It's burning cash versus profitable,
Welcome to the party.
Yeah. So it's been a mind shift, but I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And the reason is because, one, I think so our product provides a lot of value. It helps good companies like my dad, right, who ran a contracting business, who did great work.
Right.
It helps those kind of people grow their business from their happy customers. So it's like, I love what the platform does. And then when people plug in, it works. And so now it's just more like, hey, figuring out where and how do we scale this, do it responsibly.
How did you start assembling a team? Did you peel away some of these people, or did you kind of recruit somebody else that came a little bit more from the SaaS space? Not like, it's not like what you haven't been doing is very digital and tech oriented, right? Yeah. Like, the websites you had was almost like a product, a traditional SaaS product. It's more complex than just, hey, let's build a WordPress theme.
There's like a product development life cycle.
Yeah. For sure. It's pretty complex to manage all of those properties. But how did you think about assembling the team to get this going? Yeah, so the Best Company license deal, right, as you kind of coined it, they didn't take any of the team. Cool. So we retained a lot of the Best Company team. Sweet. And that's our staff today. So we haven't brought in, like SaaS veterans. So we're all just kind of, it's our first rodeo. Building the SaaS company, learn as we go. I think you should do that. I think, in fact, I had a call like an hour and a half ago before we started recording, maybe 2 hours ago now, with a founder whose co-founder was doing this for the first time and really lobbied to hire every one of the best people possible. Yeah. Now, you can see how that went, right? They they purchased the most expensive people possible, and they burned the most amount of money. And what startup founders, especially tech startup founders, need to understand, but I think it applies to non-tech as well, is that survivability is your mission the first few years.
Right.
And survivability is about burn rate, and it is about, you need as much time as possible to let the marketing cure, right? To get your message dialed, to get enough data to know if you're even building the right thing,
right?
And that takes time, And so you have all these first-time founders that come and go, oh man, I just recruited the best team from Pluralsight and Qualtrics and out of San Francisco. Yeah. And I'm like, you're going to be out of business in 14 months.
Yeah.
And so many of them are, honestly, so everything got more stressful with fundraising broadly in 2022 after the NASDAQ had crashed and stuff, and sort of the VC market started to really dry up. And now you have all these people that were optimizing for very easy money.
Right.
And it's gone. Right. So they're done. So anyway, I think given your background of low burn and profitability, I think you probably have a pretty high likelihood of success. So
and the people we have on our team know the business inside and out.
Yeah.
Right. They're contributors to the core. And so, I agree. It's there's probably things we don't know that we're going to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And
guaranteed.
But I think the exchange for having people who are like bought in, they know the business, hungry. So feeling really good about the team and the path.
That's really awesome. Yeah. So if people have any questions or, want to, get to know you a little bit more and talk about your story, how would they reach you?
Yeah, gosh, LinkedIn is great. Email, Landon@Snoball.com.
With no W.
No W. Yep. Yeah. And if it's even if it's not like business related, sure. And if I can help or give back in any way, I've had so many people along my path who have done that for me.
Yeah.
So in any way possible, if I can provide value, I'd love to. Snowball, I really do feel strongly can help specifically service companies.
Yeah.
Systematize that word of mouth marketing flywheel. So if you want to plug in and try it, kind of at low risk, like by all means, let's do it.
What's the website?
So snowball.com.
Snowball.com.
Without the W.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you for taking the time to come on and share your story a little bit.
This was fun.
Yeah, and it was good to reconnect. I know we'd crossed paths before and have hired some of the same people, and so it was good to get to know you a little bit better. Thanks
Likewise.
for coming on.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of No Instructions. Feel free to leave us a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe so we can continue producing these podcasts. Today's episode was brought to you by Distro. Distro is a platform to help startups find, hire, and pay employees in over 200 countries. It's free to use. Go to distro.io to set up your free account today.